Lively, low-altitude, first-person view, FPV. Fast, pilot view craft used by frontline Ukrainian units. Users claim that Azov-affiliated FPV teams are intercepting and engaging newly deployed Russian soldiers one by one as those reinforcements arrive at forward positions. After more than 3 years of intense fighting, unmanned aerial systems have moved from a niche reconnaissance role to a central part of frontline tactics in Ukraine. Have circulated widely, describe frontline Ukrainian formations using agile first-person view FPV attack drones to track, harass, and in some cases, engage Russian soldiers one by one. Newly sent Azov or other Ukrainian units are using elite FPV teams to hunt Russian soldiers one by one are consistent with broader documented trends in the conflict. Increased use of small, fast drones for reconnaissance and attack. Among those units mentioned in such accounts is the Azov formation, which has been widely reported to experiment with small, fast drones for close-in operations. FPV drones are small, highly maneuverable quadcopters piloted via a camera feed that gives the operator a cockpit-like view. Unlike larger loitering munitions designed to crash into targets, many FPV platforms are built for speed, low latency, and precision flying. Soldiers Azov have been one of the most publicly visible Ukrainian units in both combat and media terms. References to Azov operating elite FPV teams likely stem from the unit's history of adopting improvised and commercial technologies, and its high recruitment among volunteers skilled in engineering or hobbyist drones. On the battlefield, FPV drones have been adapted for a variety of roles: reconnaissance in urban and trench environments, target designation for indirect fire, and in some reported cases as weaponized platforms carrying small explosive charges or incendiaries. Accounts circulating among battlefield observers and social networks describe small FPV teams identifying isolated enemy soldiers, using drones to track or harass them until they could be engaged by anti-armor, small arms, or artillery assets. The phrase "one by one" captures the idea of isolating targets rather than attempting massed assaults. Ukrainian forces are exploiting intimate knowledge of supply routes they recently abandoned in the Serebryansky forest, using drone surveillance to systematically destroy Russian troops attempting to use the same paths, turning a tactical withdrawal into a devastating trap near Yampil. Here, the Russians started using old Ukrainian supply routes in the Serebryansky forest to move troops for their next move. However, as Ukrainians held these positions for months, their drone operators knew exactly where to strike, tracking all their movements and unleashing devastating fire on the enemy front line and forces moving into position. As you remember, Ukrainians withdrew in one go from the Serebryansky forest as Russians had taken their handful of viable logistics routes through the trees under fire control with drones. However, this gave Ukrainians the brilliant idea and opportunity to turn the tables around on the Russians, as they knew exactly which paths were viable and where the Russians would be moving. In one geolocated video, a Ukrainian FPV fiber optic drone tracked a Russian UAZ Patriot near Crimea, deep behind the front line, and destroyed it with a precise hit, eliminating the officer inside. A second drone confirmed the kill, showcasing how the layered Ukrainian drone operation works. In another case, soldiers of the 63rd Brigade tracked the movement of supply trucks instead, following them to a camouflaged Russian drone control point hidden in the forest. A strike destroyed not only the position, but also the Russian drone operators inside, as well as their nearby ammunition depot. Each of these incidents illustrates how the predictable use of the limited old Ukrainian supply routes has made Russian forces vulnerable, easy to find, and easy to destroy. The lack of defensive infrastructure compounds Russia's problems, as Ukrainians had not dug new trenches as they withdrew in one go, leaving Russians with large areas without dugouts, tunnels, or proper fortifications.
Пацаны, мы идем так же само с вами, нахуй, только мы не спускаемся, мы остаемся в блиндаже.
This left even less space for Russians to store supplies and equipment, which were now all concentrated on several larger routes through the forest. Russian troops moving in now must make do with foxholes and improvised shelters, which offer little protection against artillery and none against drones attacking from above. In one video, overcrowding forced Russian soldiers to leave their weapons and ammunition outside a dugout. A Ukrainian drone operator spotted the stash and, with only 4 munitions dropped, destroyed the dugout and its armaments in a clean strike. Poor sheltering options combined with limited space turned each Russian attempt to consolidate positions into a fresh disaster. This dynamic is bleeding the Russians before they can even engage in a real battle for Yampol. After taking one bigger trench fortification at the end of the forest across the village, Russian commanders hope to use it to advance more easily. On the contrary, this has made their attempts even more predictable than they already were, with every step forward turned into a death march for their assault groups. A video from Ukraine's 81st Air Mobile Brigade shows 2 surviving Russians, the last of an assault group, who briefly hid in a basement after their comrades were eliminated on the approach. Ukrainian drone operators targeted their hideout, forcing them into the open, where Ukrainian infantry shot them down on an open road like at a shooting range. Ukrainian troops report that similar attempts repeat daily, as Russian commanders keep sending small groups into Yampol, but almost none survive. Ukrainian drone surveillance monitors every movement, destroying infiltrators before they gather strength, which buys critical time for the defense of the settlement.